In a time of growing tension and demand, the situation of Mexican oil has become a crucial issue in today's political landscape. The United States, in its quest to secure a steady energy supply, is facing an urgent need for Mexican oil. Fluctuations in the market have pushed the price of a barrel of oil to alarming figures, with estimates placing it at $70, while the market reality raises it to $100 or more. This price disparity not only impacts the Mexican economy, but also poses significant challenges for the bilateral relationship between Mexico and the US. The history of the oil industry in Mexico is marked by moments of both prosperity and crisis. One of the most significant milestones was the discovery of the Cantarell oil field in the 1970s. This field became the heart of Mexican oil production, reaching production levels exceeding 3.4 million barrels per day at its peak. However, this success did not come without consequences. The overexploitation of Cantarell, driven by the pursuit of maximizing profits, led to an accelerated deterioration of the oil field. The use of invasive techniques, like nitrogen injection, not only compromised the quality of the oil, but also left a legacy of pollution that continues to affect the industry today. As the consequences of this overexploitation become evident, a critical question arises. Where did the resources generated by the billions of dollars in oil surpluses that the country has seen in the past go? The lack of transparency in the management of these resources has fueled distrust in the industry and has generated a demand for greater accountability. In today's context, it is important to recognize that oil production in Mexico can no longer return to the levels it once had. The reality is that, although there are oil and gas reserves, the possibility of discovering a new field on the scale of Cantarell is increasingly remote. This is not only a result of the country's geology, but also of political and strategic decisions that have directed production towards domestic consumption. The current administration has decided that the priority should be to meet the needs of the domestic market, something that had not happened in decades. Pemex, the state-owned oil company, occupies a central place in this discussion. Its relevance transcends public finances. It represents a symbol of Mexico's energy sovereignty. For years, the narrative of an oil-dependent economy has dominated the country's economic discourse. However, the energy reform implemented in previous administrations weakened the capacity of Pemex, and therefore of Mexico, to maintain control over its resources. The current administration has committed to reversing this trend, seeking to strengthen Pemex as a key player in the national economy. It is essential to learn from past mistakes and from the experiences of other countries. We observe what happened in Europe, where the privatization of energy services has led to significant crises. In the case of Spain, the dependence on Russian gas has exposed the vulnerability of a model that prioritizes the interests of large corporations over national energy security. These examples serve as warnings about the dangers of stripping a country of its energy sovereignty. The need for justice for the crimes committed in the past must also occupy a central place in this conversation. Recently, a ruling was issued ordering the Attorney General's office to investigate the forced disappearances of people during the Dirty War. This decision is an important step towards truth and justice for thousands of victims and their families, who have been demanding recognition and reparation for years. The commitment to truth cannot be relegated. The continuation of the Truth Commission is essential to ensure that there is no forgiveness for those responsible for atrocious acts. Enforced disappearance, as a state policy, must be condemned, and the victims must receive the comprehensive reparation they deserve. Recognizing the state's responsibility for these crimes is a fundamental step towards a more just society. Looking ahead, It is imperative to build a new development model that respects sovereignty and promotes the well-being of all Mexicans. This new approach should not only focus on energy production, but also on the creation of an economic system that prioritizes the population instead of the elites. Foreign investments must be aligned with the interests of the country and contribute to the social and economic development of Mexico. The fight for truth and justice must go hand in hand with the defense of our natural resources. To move towards a more just and sovereign country, it is necessary for the Mexican people to take the lead in the discussion about their future. History has taught us that power must be exercised for the benefit of the majority and not the few. Energy sovereignty is an issue that transcends economics. It is a matter of dignity and autonomy. Mexico has the right to decide on its own resources and to ensure that they benefit its population. The transformation of the oil industry must be part of a broader project that seeks social welfare, equity, and justice. Therefore, it is essential that all sectors of society are involved in this process. Collaboration between the government, civil society, and the private sector is essential to build a future in which Mexico's energy sovereignty is a tangible reality. The history of our country is not written. It is in our hands to decide which path we will take. The recovery of Pemex and the defense of our energy sovereignty are tasks that require commitment and courage. This is a time for reflection, but also for action. History is watching us, and it is our duty to build a legacy that honors those who have fought for the justice and dignity of our people. In conclusion, the situation of Mexican oil is a complex issue that involves multiple dimensions. From the need for justice for the crimes of the past to the defense of our energy sovereignty, each aspect requires in-depth analysis and a firm commitment. The transformation of Mexico is underway, and each of us has a role to play on this path towards a more just and sovereign future.